stream, and now you have it, and there's a lag, so maybe there's still a problem. All right, just confirm that you can hear me, and I'll start playing. I think you're the only one in here right now, so there's no big rush. So, can you hear me? I don't see any chats. I don't know if I'm live and audible. All right, cool. All right, so anyhow, yeah, I think the deck list looks okay. It looks fine. People have been trying Quench, but it seems like Quench is an option more for the decks running Mutavault. Because if we're running all these islands, we might as well run more powerful double blue spells. So yeah, gonna try Jhin again. Hopefully it won't die as easily because we've got Spell Pierce on top of Storm Tamer, and I'm curious to see how Tidebinder does in the main. I can sort of like keep track of how many matches it's terrible in. But I guess the point is that in a lot of the matchups where Harbinger is bad, Tidebinder is also going to be bad. So where is just the Q? There we go. So we're going to play Blue Devotion, and yeah, I guess we just have to wait for somebody to join. So what kind of modifications have you made in the last day or two with your build? You say that you're back on 12 counter spells. This list has 12 counter spells because I don't really know what else to do. I moved up to four sleeps because sleep has felt great when I've drawn it. Like double sleep in particular has been great. All right. Hand looks good. All right, slow start, pretty typical in Pioneer. Pretty nice. The opponent taps out, I'll probably play Jhin and swing with Copter. If they don't, I'm not exactly sure what I want to do. Like, is this representing a counter spell? Or are they holding up a Braid or something for Smuggler's Copter? But if they have a Braid, they're probably going to... Okay, so Chart a Course. So, I don't know. Like, if I play Thassa, then I can't crew the Smuggler's Copter. I think, like, it's probably just... They discarded a Treasure Cruise. All right. So, not sure what kind of threats they're running right now. So, I think I will just run out Tempest Jhin, which is hopefully resistant to some of their, red removal. Although I'm not exactly sure what red removal is being played in the format. 3 damage or 4 damage. I know a Braid is around, but that can just blow up an artifact anyway. Storm Tamer's pretty nice. We do want a land. If we... I'm not going to pitch Master of Waves. I think... Storm Tamer is going to protect the later part of the game. Seems like Trickster's not super relevant because they're not really playing threats right now. So maybe I'll just get rid of Trickster. I kind of like the resilience of Witching Well, and since we're low on lands right now, if I don't draw one next turn, I can play Witching Well and try to dig deeper, and then hold up Storm Tamer. That seems okay. So Lightning Axe kills Jhin. Fiery Temper does not. I don't even know what Wild Slash does. Is this guy double wild slashing? Is that what's happening? Okay. So it does 4. Okay, damage can't be prevented. But it always does 2. Seems like a pretty bad card. Alright, I think this means we just jam Master of Waves. Even though we don't have any devotion. Although, no, I think we'd probably develop a little more devotion. Thassa can't crew. Why don't I play Thassa and Stormtamer? That way I can crew up and maybe replace this Witching Well with something better. So I guess Jin eating those wild slashes is kind of fine as long as I still have Smuggler's Copter. Another Witching Well. Alright, so next turn we can play a good Master of Waves. Opponent didn't play a 3rd land, so seems they're sort of behind the 8 ball here. Okay, 2 damage to my little guy. Tidebinder Mage, probably not going to be great here, I guess. Land is actually pretty sweet. Witching Well, set up bombs now. Even like a Spell Pierce would be pretty nice. Go bottom and top. It seems like we're just kind of cruising here now. Opponent kept a kind of sketchy hand, maybe. I don't know if there's upside to actually... It's kind of rolling the dice, right? Like if I say yes, I just throw a card in the graveyard. So it could... Oh wait, I already know that Master of Waves is on top, so I obviously don't want to loot right there. I want to leave the card on top. But assuming that I didn't scry, I don't think there's any upside. I guess in theory there's more lands than any other cards in the deck. So maybe percentage-wise, well, there's not more lands than spells though. So I think it's probably just better not to loot if our hand is empty. Okay, opponent scoops. Pretty hard for them to beat the protection from red, I guess. So it's a red deck, but it doesn't seem like one where Tidebinder Mage would be very good. It's like a blue-red, removal-heavy card-drawing deck. So, Thassa, obviously amazing. Smuggler's Copter, fantastic. Tidebinder Mage, probably pretty weak. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so I can trim the Tidebinders, I think. Not sure if they're running Planeswalkers or anything that I need to Spyglass. It just looked very spell-heavy. So Spell Pierce, I think, is going to be great. They have a lot of removal. That's particularly what we want Witching Well for, even if they have Braids and things like that. They're probably going to be going after Smuggler's Copter. Not sure how good Brazen Bar is going to be, because we haven't really seen any permanents yet. Tempest Jin, they spent 2 spells dealing with him. That seems like a good trade for us. So I can go ahead and bring in 4 more counter spells. And it doesn't look like a combo deck based on what I've seen, so I don't know that I want, with all of our scry, any more than 8 counter spells, including like Spell Pierce and Wizard's Retort. Of course, we have Stormtamer on top of that. So gonna go ahead and submit that and wait for the opponent. All right, so they keep 7, and we will mulligan. Okay, this is a little bit better. Get your land, and we're done. So they had a lot of removal in game 1, but we had Thassa and Master of Waves, which is just hard for them to remove. Oh, there's Thassa. So pretty slow start. Okay, chart a course. They're going to discard something. Steam vents. And let's see. Yeah, I think I just wait till their end step. Flash in Trickster. A fourth land is okay, but we kind of want to stop drawing lands at this point. Maybe I can get them to tap out on their turn and resolve Thassa on our turn. All right, there's a Wild Slash. They still have 2 mana up. Storm Tamer just runs into more removal. I'm not sure how many counterspells they would be running and what they would be running. Like, I know Censor, basically like a Force Spike, but I don't know what it can counter. If it can counter creatures or if it only counters non-creatures. So I don't know. Let's see if they counter this. Maybe an Opt looking for something. So are they drawing in? Yeah, draw 2, discard 2. So that's fine. Thassa's going to resolve. And I think she's just pretty hard for them to deal with. But they're set. They can Treasure Cruise now, I think. So a lot of card draw, but just not a lot of stuff happening. Okay, so 4 mana up. You can dig through time as well, I'm sure. We do have counter magic at this point. Get to scry away extra lands. Okay, so we play 2 Storm Tamers and just pass the turn, I guess. All right. So I could counter one of these if I wanted to. I'm not sure that I want to, though. Wait, how does this work? I can sack one to counter the other, right? That just seems like it makes sense, right? So I'm going to sack this to counter the Lightning Axe, of course. But then I don't have Retort up, and I don't know. They just seem kind of like a land go deck, so... They had 2 mana up there, so they could have cruised, I think, if they had it in hand. Is it Charm? I guess they're digging pretty hard for something. All right, so they've got 1 card in hand. We've got a counterspell for any of their like treasure cruises or anything like that. Tempest Djinn seems really nice. They're running out of cards. I think I'm going to just pass and then play Borrower. If they have something like Dig Through Time or Treasure Cruise, then I will counter it. I'm going to let this resolve, and, well, maybe I shouldn't. I think I'll just counter it. They have an Is It Charm to make this thing resolve. It's okay, but they didn't. It's pretty much the same play here, I think. Okay, ship anything that's not gas. Because we're going to draw lands anyway, I'm sure. Well, that was nice because we were only going to spend 3 mana anyway. Now, I could, and probably should, fire up Thassa here. With only 1 card in hand, it's totally possible that they can't really do anything here. If they have 1 more removal spell, they can go for it. That's okay. Now they're empty-handed. We've got another good card in hand. We can wake Thassa back up. Another Thassa goes to the bottom. Okay, so Storm Tamer and Brazen Borrower makes it so that unless they kill Jin, Thassa's going to get a hit in. I think maybe I'll just play, well, I could play Storm Tamer and then flash in Brazen Borrower if they put Thassa to sleep or try to. This seems like a pretty favorable matchup for us. And they can't deal with Master of Waves, they can't deal with Thassa, so I can bounce that if I want to. Doesn't seem very necessary. Getting it unblockable for 9 next turn. 10. That's this thing. Just bounce it. I'm doing 10 anyway. Flash it in. Make these unblockable. I'll have to chump with the Arclight Phoenix. I'll just flash this in. Hey, Mateo. Nice. I think I might just let them block here. I don't think they have... Actually, I think I'll make the Brazen Borrower unblockable. Now, let's just see. If I make these guys unblockable, then he has to chump. He has to chump anyway. So it's a 2-turn clock, and I can hold up Counterspell, this Counterspell. So let's just make the Brazen Borrower unblockable. Fine with me. Opponent goes down to 4, and okay, opt is fine. All right, so yeah, pretty easy match. So Jin felt pretty good with the main deck counter magic. The opponent was not playing any green or red creatures, but Tidebender Mage didn't really bite us for playing it in the main. I think I'll just go and join another queue real quick. So take a look at the deck list for those of you guys who might have joined after I showed it. It's not the Merfolk list. You take out Kapala and Silvergill and Ben. You've got space for Spell Pierce and Tempest Djinn. So no Mutavault, just a lot of islands. We have an opponent here on the plate, and let's close this. Resize this. All right. It's a good hand. This guy's got kind of a weird name. Maybe that's a clan or something. One Shi or Ishi or something like that. Okay, black-white. That third land is excellent. Fourth land is also really good. So I think I just jam Thassa here and like not look back, basically. Opponent might resolve like a Kaya or something with 3 mana. Maybe Kaya is 4? I don't know. I'm still learning all these cards that are not good enough for Modern, but maybe it's Lily Last Hope. Okay, Sin Collector. Sort of okay. We've got redundant Spell Pierces. We get to wake up Thassa this turn. Sin Collector in the main deck is an interesting choice. Another Tempest Chin. I've got Spell Pierce and Storm Tamer up. Okay, no blocks. Interesting. Declaration in Stone. I can just straight up counter that. Wait, okay, so that looked like it got countered not by Storm Tamer. You are because when I sacked it, Thassa ceased being a creature. So so the spell was going to be countered anyway. That's kind of cool. So now the opponent's just getting the crap kicked out of them. So so I guess they can have Languish, but I have Spell Pierce for that. So and the opponent knows that I have it. So if they have like a Planeswalker, or yeah, they're just going to concede here. So Spell Pierce is doing pretty good work so far. All right. Well, we saw one creature, one Declaration in Stone. I'm assuming they're playing a bunch of... Yeah, Mateo, I'm like super duper winning at the moment. I'm not sure how laggy the video is today, but seems like I probably want to bring in some number of counter spells. Tidebinder Mage can come out. Once again, just sort of easily winning, even with Tidebinder Mage. I think I scried one away with Thassa. So I can bring in the Wizard's Retorts. I'll probably go ahead and bring in the Spyglasses. If nothing else, it's information. I think somebody pointed that out in the stream on Monday. So what else? I mean, it seems like it's got a bunch of removal. So Witching Well is probably going to be good. Borrower, just a flyer. Potentially kill Planeswalkers. Bounce anything that is troublesome. If they have Liliana, then Master of Waves is potentially a little bit weak. So maybe we... And Declaration in Stone also deals with Master of Waves, so we can trim a couple Master of Waves. And it seems like the creatures that they have might just be like value enters the battlefield creatures, so I don't know that Brazen Borrowers are all that useful. Spell Pierce seems solid. So now we're going to have 8 counter spells, 3 Spyglass. Yeah, and I'll just run it back like that. Still 2 Borrowers, still 3 Copters, bunch of flying, bunch of flash creatures. Another good hand. So opponent kept 7. Nice. No Thoughtseize or anything yet. All right. Well, we just need some lands here. If we don't draw lands, well, either way, we're going to be able to hold up Retort and Trickster next turn, assuming they don't do anything between now and then. Are they pushing here? Oh, Thoughtseizing. Okay. Don't have mana up to counter that, but we have a lot of cards in hand. I have to assume they're going to take Thassa, which is the best card in the deck. It's all a bunch of kind of unique effects. Trickster seems like the weakest card in the hand. Opponent took the counterspell. We do have 7 more of those. Third land is excellent, but now we don't have that counter, so I guess the best we can do is end step Trickster or Petty Theft. Opponent damaged themselves with Godless Shrine. So they don't know we have this third land yet. Burglar Rat. This is sort of okay. I think I'm just gonna discard the Borrower. I don't know. They haven't really, like, again, enters the battlefield stuff, so Borrower not that incredible. I get to play Trickster and then Thassa, and life is pretty good. Well, okay, so they're thought seizing me here, which is kind of annoying, but we still have two good cards that we can play out. I could have countered the thought seize. That might have been smart, actually. All right, a little bit hasty there, but I don't even know what they're going to take here. I guess it depends on what they have in hand. They took Thassa. Witching Well. It'd be nice if I was able to leave up mana for Storm Tamer, but currently cannot. Yeah, I think countering the Thought Seize was better than flashing in Trickster. I was just kind of rushing it. Silly mistakes like that lose games. Now the opponent can languish. Okay, what is this thing? It's just a 4/3 flyer. Okay. That's pretty good. So I might want to slow roll. Now you were right the first time. THEN is good. So let's see if we can get this guy to... Well, if he trades, then I don't have Devotion. So I think maybe I will just... Well, almost want to wait until I have... What is... So this is Death Touch or Vigilance, and it makes spirits when it dies. I play Thassa. I still have 4 Devotion. I think I'm going to attack into this Seraph. Okay. I mean, the spirits are fine. Well, this is not the worst discard in the world. We're going to get to scry with Thassa, so... or start attacking unblockable. Really, like a 1-drop would be nice here, so that I can just crack in. Okay, so there's Pack Rat. Good call. So, things potentially about to get out of hand. The opponent has 0 cards in hand. Island doesn't wake up Thassa, and we already have a bunch of islands, so... Sometimes that happens. I think we can start racing a little bit here. If I swing for 2, they go to 10, and then they get to crack back for a bunch, but it's not too threatening right now. Five, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, that was a pretty bad couple of draws. Can't really attack with the Storm Tamer. Attack with then makes it just easy for them to attack. I think it's probably best not to attack here. Then they get in with fewer things. I don't know. They're still getting in with a bunch of things. Nothing has lifelink or anything except the Shambling Vents. Yeah, I don't know. Can't do a lot given the state of our hand right now. So now that I know a little bit more about what the deck is trying to do, I'm going to look to counter Thought Seizes more with Storm Tamer, and also, I don't know, maybe bring in a few sleeps, since they've got a whole bunch of creatures. Okay. Discarding something. Can get some information, I guess. Each opponent sacrifices a creature and discards if they have a planeswalker. So I should be looking out for planeswalkers. All right, they're getting in for a bunch here. They just had... Okay, so this is a rat also. Getting in for 11. Or up to 11. We don't even have lands to play. You know, I wouldn't doubt that they actually have that Ratmaster thing. That's a pretty timid attack right there, I think. So, inevitable that we're going to draw something great, I think, here. Well, Witching Well, not amazing. It does wake up Thassa, which kind of stonewalls at least one of their rats. And then I could set up my draws for the next turn. I mean, it might just be lethal around my blocks. If they make another rat, activate this, it's going to be 6. So 6 is going to get through. Can block these little guys. 6, block, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 2, 11, 12. I don't think they don't have enough mana to activate both manlands right now. So I think I'll put that on top. We'll set something good up, I guess. All right. So basically, you know, we need to find a path here to victory. Obviously, Jin is devotion. Storm Tamer, we've already got a Storm Tamer. I think we bottom that. And if we top Jin, they've got these. Well, I guess we can attack with it unblockable. We've only got 3 islands. I don't really know what else we're looking for, honestly. I guess a land would be solid. I think we've kind of lost this game. But I'm just going to top Jin and hope that we can get by with blocks. Now, I can attack with Thassa here, and then it's just game if they don't have lethal. So if we swing with Thassa, and they attack, it's going to be 6, 6, block one of those. We take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, block their manland. If they attack with lifelink, that's going to be rough. But they can't because they're pitching whatever card they draw to make pack rats. You know what? I'm going to make them play well. I think it might be our only out here. So attack with Thassa. Now we can't, I guess we can't, hold on. If we can't block next turn if we want to keep devotion on. So maybe I attack with Trickster. That only gets him to 8. I know I put Tempest Djinn on top just because it seemed like a decent card. If I attack and they go to 5, I need my... If I tap out, then I don't have unblockable mana. Yeah, I think I just have to pass. Well, I know I'm drawing a Djinn, but I don't really see what that does for me right away. Because if I attack with Thassa there, I have to block to not die. And if I block, I lose my devotion. If I tap out for devotion, then I can't attack unblockable. Alright, well, so this is kind of getting there anyway. Opponent chooses to go that way. To counter that, keep a little bit more devotion. So now they attack. We can't, I think we just lose anyway. Alright, so Mutavault, these guys are 5s. Block 1, take 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We play a Tempest Djinn, and then they still just attack and win around the edges. Because we're at 2. They might just choose... there we go. Okay, so... I think I'm just going to scoop. I don't feel like... I mean, I'm dead here. Because they're going to get in 11, and then they can easily push 2 damage next turn. Yeah, but they have too many attackers, so that wasn't going to work. Sleep seems solid, and when I actually we know they have Liliana. Let's see. I mean, we've got Storm Tamers to protect like a Master of Waves against Liliana, the Last Hope, but at the same time, and they also have removal that's good against him, like destroy target non-legendary creature, like that last one they just played. So also Declaration in Stone. Master of Waves seems like it would line up really well against their going wide strategy, but he also just dies very easily. We didn't have Master of Waves that game, and we didn't even have 4 lands. Spell Pierce, good against removal, good against planeswalkers. I think we keep it in, even though they have a bunch of creatures. The Witching Well seemed good to me. Spyglass. Oh, Spyglass is great against Pack Rat, so I'm keeping that in. I think maybe I want a couple of sleeps, and then it's just a question of what I trim. I have these 4 counter spells, and I don't know that I need all 4 necessarily. They're probably not playing board wipes now that I see kind of what their strategy is. So I think I'll run it back like that. I think Spyglass is really good in the matchup if I can find one. Well, this is good at getting Devotion established and setting up what we draw. I can go turn 1 Siren, turn 2 Well, and definitely set up something good. It's just a little bit weak. Gets a lot of Devotion on the table. You know what? I need to sort of learn how these hands play out, and while it's probably not really that amazing, I think I'll just keep this and see how it goes. Maybe this is like the best hand we can draw. Because all we want to do is establish Devotion and then start playing bombs. I mean, we have 3 lands, 4 spells. We'd obviously like to have a better balance of creatures and non-creatures, but at least our non-creatures are going to set up what our next few draws are. All right, Fatal Push. Could have seen that one coming. Another island is poor, but we'll see what these wells have to show us. Sleep, I don't think I want that right now. We definitely get to bottom island. We're looking to... So 2 bottoms is great value off of Witching Well. And now we want what? Well, another bottom. That's great. And I think we'll top this one and pass. Okay, Burglar Rat, we're going to discard an island. Things are getting set up very nicely, but we just need to hope that the next 3 cards in the top of the deck have something solid to work with. Opponent still has... They're going to have 6 cards in their hand. We're down to 0. Okay, so Thassa is solid. And Trickster is probably solid also. So go ahead and put Trickster on top, Thassa on top. All right, opponent. Let's see what those 6 cards are. All right, push works. Okay, 3 Wells and a Thassa. You got to remember that the Wells can actually draw cards, so a land on the top of the deck is actually not that bad because it draws us 2 more cards. The opponent is not really presenting a lot of pressure, but that could change really quickly. We have a Trickster queued up on top of the deck. This card is actually kind of annoying. So, I guess I'm going to just put this on top. Probably take one from this silly rat, and then... I mean, if they Thoughtseize, that's solid, right? Because we just get a card out of their hand and 2 life. I could just block and eat this guy. Seems pretty appealing, but I kind of want them to tap out. And taking one damage is not a big deal here. I mean, they could just have another push, which is sort of fine. Declaration in Stone is pretty slow, though. It's sorcery. Declaration of Stone actually deals with Thassa. Okay, so they kill the Trickster. So now we're kind of looking for Devotion, and again, lands are not the end of the world. I'm going to bottom that because we're looking for another spell. But there's that island, and it's sort of okay. I am not really sure the opponent knows, like, that I can draw all these cards, but see how it goes. Okay. I think I have a vague idea of what this does. Destroy all non-zombie creatures. The ultimate. Turn target creature card to the battlefield. Okay, they don't have any creature cards yet. Two lands. Probably pretty good for them. Not sure why the opponent didn't attack there. Very nice cards. Okay, what does this do? Can it destroy... Can't kill any of my creatures. I think we have to keep that on top. It's pretty good. But this turn, I think I'm going to just Copter and then flash in Trickster. If they Thoughtseize away the Djinn, so be it. Copter kind of laughs at any sorcery speed stuff. I think I might go for the snipe on the burglar rat now. Okay, so they're just making zombies. Seems good. This costs 3 and it to activate, so 4 to activate this. If they don't have pretty good interaction here, we get to untap and attack with Copter and with Thassa. Get to play a Tempest Djinn. They're sort of running out of cards. The Witching Well really drew us back into this. Okay, Thoughtseize. So, definitely going to run out Trickster here. They could easily have removal, but I can't see the value in not playing. Now, they could have the Declaration Stone for Thassa, which would be unfortunate. If they try to remove one of our creatures here, we can crew the Smuggler's Copter. They're going to go to 16. Okay, Field of Ruin, and 1 card in hand. So they can start activating Castle Lochthwain. They can play Murderous Rider. Let's see. I mean, I'm starting to get sort of hopeful here because they pay 4 for Lochthwain. We've got our scries going with Thassa, unless, of course, they have the Declaration in Stone, like right now. Okay, opponent chooses not to attack. That's great for us. It's interesting with 4 mana up. If they ever go for like a Declaration in Stone, we can always sacrifice a Witching Well. More instant speed stuff would be pretty cool. Don't really want that land. Spyglass is cool because we can just name Liliana right now. We can also name Castle Lochthwain. We might want to wait until... Oh, what is the opponent doing here? If you control a Liliana Planeswalker, each opponent also discards a card. Well, that's unfortunate. Maybe I just sack a Witching Well here to draw cards and choose... Now she can ultimate next turn, which will destroy all non-zombies. Thassa doesn't care about that. I'm going to sacrifice Trickster here anyway. It's just a question of what I want to discard. They get to activate Lochthwain, which is unfortunate. I do really like Spyglass. So let's see. I am going to activate Smuggler's Copter with Trickster. I could actually just do it with Thassa here. Doesn't really matter. Let's do it that way. So then if the opponent doesn't draw a discard, we're going to have some things in hand. We can loot well with Copter. All right. So let's go ahead and sacrifice this Witching Well. Spell Pierce is kind of dead. But it's probably better than an island here. Because they're going to be looking to activate this, and they're going to be looking to activate Mutavault. So maybe Spell Pierce is okay. It doesn't really matter, because I'm going to probably loot away the island anyway. So let's go ahead and pitch the Spell Pierce. Oh, sorry. I'm going to say okay. So we're going to sacrifice the Trickster, and we're going to discard Island for now, I guess. Let's discard the Spell Pierce. Yeah. Alright, so now we get to loot. I think I'm going to hit Liliana. Well, no, because, I mean, she'll make a zombie. Which could be problematic in the long run. But her minus isn't going to hurt us. And she has, I guess she has a Burglar Rat to return from the graveyard, which is a little bit annoying. That's a -3. I think I'm going to sort of not care about Liliana for the moment. Because I've got the Spyglass ready. So, yeah, we'll go ahead and pitch the island, I guess. We're not in the best spot here with them activating Lochthwain here, drawing a card. untapping with 7 power and a Planeswalker in play. Okay. Thoughtseize is annoying. Upside is it hits the opponent's life total, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. They've got me pretty well taken care of here. They returned the Burglar Rat. Yeah, I don't know. Hard to fight through all this discard. They've got card draw and discard and now Pack Rat, so decent draws for the opponent. They get to keep drawing cards. They can also play this thing now if they want to. I kind of like this deck. Pack Rat is a very strong card. The Sorcerer's Spyglass would have been good, but I guess they just ripped that Thoughtseize, either off the Locthwain or on their draw step. This is decent for now, I guess. Put it on top, see how things go. Pretty sure I'm dead, but I can, hold on, I can upkeep, tap the Pack Rat. Prevent them from making another Pack Rat. That seems strong, because they won't have, they'll have a card in hand from Locthwain. So, yeah, they'll be able to respond to that, because they'll have a card in hand, so we'll just pass. All right. Vault. We will tap down the Pack Rat, and I guess I'll see what they attack with. And yeah, if they have removal, I think it's kind of okay for them to use it on Smuggler's Copter. We kind of want Devotion. We're almost definitely out of this game at this point, but it's a strange time for the opponent to start thinking. Oh, you know what? It just kills Pack Rat because it's like it's a star, right? It's like a so it becomes a 0/0. So it's like doing it to Master of Ethereum. Well, all in all, that went pretty well for us. Opponent gets to return Pack Rat, which is okay. I guess I just want to keep drawing Tricksters now. Opponent clearly without removal that turn. It's pretty great. Spell Pierce is terrible, so we'll get rid of that. Witching Well is going to wake up Thassa, so that's something. So I can kill Liliana here if I want to. Might be better to just stay alive. Opponent also has a card in hand. So in theory, if they use Locthwain, they're going to go down to 7. I can just kind of go for it here. Wow, look at that. Is Jin bottom, Master of Waves top? Don't really want Jin here. I mean, I can crew Smuggler's Copter and swing for 8, but then I think I'm dead on the crackback because they've got enough for lethal. Got sort of 4 plus a bunch more. Yeah, I can't quite just get in with everybody yet. But that can go on top. Stabilize. I've got mana to spend if I want to send something in unblockable. Just maybe to kill Liliana, prevent them from making more zombies. Then I've got, in theory, Thassa back and Copter back as blocks. No, because if I swing with... a tricky spot. Master of Waves doesn't really care if she makes another zombie. She can't minus, she's just going to make a zombie. Murderous Rider can come to the battlefield. Well, no, I guess that's -3, right? All right, so let's make some decisions. I don't really think I'm going to... Well, I guess I can block with this. This be block that. That. This, take 5. Copter's a good blocker, though. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's reasonable. But then I have to tap one of my blockers to attack. It's just a little bit too aggressive right now. Next turn I'll have Master of Waves. Also, if I hit them now, I can just win with unblockable next turn, right? So leave if they draw removal, then Thassa's just dead and I just die right away. But yeah, leaving up block seems more reasonable here. All right, we'll see. I might just be dead anyway. In the worst situation, if they try to kill the Trickster, I can crew the Copter, block a zombie, take 5, 6, 7, hopefully not dead. If the opponent activates Lochthwain and they go down to 8 or 7, I should be able to win just with unblockable next turn. Again, assuming that they don't draw removal. I'm trying to pass here, but the opponent is thinking a lot. If they have removal right now, that's super bad news for us. We just lose, like if they're just slow rolling removal. Because Thassa will be inactive, and we won't be able to crew the Smuggler's Copter, so... creating a copy of Packrat. That makes sense. Wow. That was a pretty spectacular rip off the top of the deck. I think I just lose now, unfortunately. Opponent. Very, very uncool. Because Thassa's just not alive now anymore. And... oh no, we did what we could. Yep, good game, opponent. Rough. We knew we had the Master of Waves coming, which would totally have stabilized. So, I mean, Spell Pierce didn't feel great in that matchup, and I probably should have boarded it out. They have a lot of removal, but they also apparently have a lot of lands, because they had like 8 lands out in every game. So, live and learn. If we face the random Pack deck again, Pack Rat deck, we should probably just sideboard out the Spell Pierces. So I think I'll just play one more game. Not sure if this is the same opponent or not. Maybe it is. That avatar looks familiar. Oh no, it's not. It's a different person. This is keepable, I guess. No scrying or anything, but we've got nice cards. We've got some 2-drops to play. If we draw running lands, the hand is pretty solid, I think. Oh, there we go. That's a start. Chief Engineer. All right, that's fine. I could just bounce that next turn, tempo them out a little bit. Aha, running lands. That's pretty sick. I think I'll just upkeep Trickster here. I could also just go huge on Devotion, but I think the difference between 2 and 3 is not that big. And then we've got Master of Waves. Okay. So maybe I just bounce Saheeli. Bounce Saheeli, make them play her again, and then play Master of Waves and get even more Devotion. But not even more, I guess, because I'm not casting Brazen Borrower. I don't know. They're playing blue. No reason to get super greedy. Master of Waves seems pretty solid here. If Saheeli minuses, makes a copy of something, except it's an artifact. They have a flying blocker, so I could chump a Tempest Djinn. Doesn't seem like Tempest Djinn is necessarily the best play here. So if I attack, I'm going to attack Saheeli. And then in theory, hopefully I'll be able to kill her next turn. All right, no blocks. And Master of Waves. So hopefully the opponent can't just like super combo out here. I mean, they can make a couple of, in theory, a few servo tokens. Okay, Emery. Mystic Forge. All right, so they're going off here. I do get to kill Saheeli unless they create a whole bunch more servos. Artifact spells do have Convoke. I think they have kind of got pretty well set up there. All right, we do want to get rid of Saheeli. So throw 4 attackers at Saheeli. They can just eat one with Chief Engineer. All right. Attack Sniper, attack Sniper. Attack Saheeli, attack Saheeli. Attack Saheeli and attack Saheeli. And attack Sniper. All right. So I think I sent 4 at Saheeli because I don't want her to be able to live. Well, these are weird blocks. I guess they want to kill the elementals. That's fine. They're going to take 4. Saheeli down. And I can play Tempest Djinn. And I guess I probably just want to bounce Mystic Forge, force them to pay 4 mana again. Just make things a little bit harder on their mana. I don't really care right now about Emery too much. So, yeah, I don't know. Bounce that thing. Well, Engineer just costs 2 mana to play, but the Mystic Forge costs 4 to play. So they're going to be able to make mana no matter what. All right, so what is this? Ornithopter. So that's just free mana, but they're tapping Emery. I don't know, like they have to have something sort of decent here, I think, right? Well, it's not that hard for them, but I mean, it's more than 2 mana, right? They can just easily just pay 2 mana and get Chief Engineer back out. Currently, they have no creatures on the board. All right, I mean, no untapped creatures, so they're just dead, right? So at this point, they're drawing to not lose. Well, I don't think that they get to put 1 blocker. But I think this just wins or loses the game, right? If they just want to show me one of their artifacts, just to show off. All right. So yeah, that was pretty straightforward. A little bit scary. I guess we can bring in all of our spyglasses, obviously. They have a ton of stuff to name. Spyglass is nice because it'll actually show us what card we want to name in their hand. And since it's kind of a combo deck, I have a feeling we want to bring in... I mean, I don't want to bring in all 15 cards. Sleep seems reasonable to get in like 1 big attack. But that's kind of what Thas is for, and they don't seem like they have a lot of interaction. Now, they have Ornithopters and stuff, and again, not a lot of removal, so I think that I'm going to just board out Storm Tamers. I don't even know what Karn the Great Creator can get that's that threatening in this format. Spell Pierce seems reasonable, even if it just counters like a Mox or something. Tidebinder, obviously not high value here. Borrower was pretty solid. Copter's going to be decent. So we need to bring in some counter spells. A Disallow can actually counter like a Mystic Forge activation. We do need creatures to win. We've got 19 creatures. Since they don't have a lot of removal, in theory, we can take out the Witching Wells, bring in more Disallows, and then maybe bring in 1 sleep, I guess? Well, it only taps creatures. It doesn't tap any of their Witching Wells or anything, but it does tap down their Ornithopters and stuff. But with all these counter spells, hopefully we'll be able to counter like Saheeli. I don't think Sleep is good enough to take out any more of my creatures. And I think the counter spells are just better than Sleep. All right. Let's rock and roll artifact combo deck. Very nice. All right, so maybe they just, let's see. Fourth land is okay. Can't attack unless we have 7 or more cards in our graveyard. And we didn't see them actively trying to put cards in our graveyard. You can't block unless you have 4 or more cards in hand. Oh, well, it does get to mill us. It's pretty slow. I don't know. So now we get to Spyglass. Okay, another Springleaf Drum. Alternatively, we can just name Springleaf Drum, but we'll see what they have. Okay. So no activated abilities yet. Springleaf Drum kind of combos with Chief Engineer just to make mana for artifacts. I guess I name in the blind like this Mystic Forge, because it's kind of the highest impact thing that they can rip off the top of the deck. I can name Karn the Great Creator. I could also name Vantra's Gargoyle so they can't mill me. And just keep their threats under control, because they're going 2 cards a turn now. And I have Disallow. So, not currently afraid of too much. They can make 5 mana next turn. No, not 5, because they can play 3. Yeah, in the end, 5 mana if they play that and then tap it, but 2 of it would be used to play this. They can play out their hand effectively next turn. Tempest Djinn, sort of okay against the Ventress Gargoyle. I think I'll name Mystic Forge for now. Not really afraid of these Ventress Gargoyles. I mean, he's going to be tapping them for mana. If they tap to mill me, it's going to take 3 turns to get that going. Maybe I'll name Ventress Gargoyle. It kind of deals with 2 threats, right? So I've got 2 more Spyglasses in the deck, so the chance of us top decking another Spyglass is kind of as good as them top decking like Mystic Forge or something like that. All right, Chief Engineer. There's the Mystic Sanctuary, and I'm sure we'll see another Ventress Gargoyle. Okay. Got it. All right, so we're in an interesting position here. They can't mill me, so I can't really attack. So maybe I just sort of play for the win. I've got these cards in hand. I'm not just going to hold up Disallow until I have 6 lands. So let's go ahead and get down a threat. Well, they found a Mystic Forge. They just used it to exile the top card. Okay, drawing lands. So at this point, we might just want to hold up a Disallow. I can go, I can just tap out 1 more turn for Master of Waves, which will put me really far ahead. I'm currently, it's going to hit for 4, 5, then 6. 4, 5, 6, that's 15. They're going to take damage from Mystic Forge. I think I can afford to tap out 1 more turn for Master of Waves. If they find like Karn, I don't know. I mean, Disallow can just shut down Mystic Forge. It's not that amazing. Master of Waves just puts a ton of pressure on them. I think I'd like play on the front foot. Don't really know what to be afraid of here. I guess Saheeli. Next turn, I can play a 5th land. Still can't hold up Disallow. So yeah, let's land a huge threat. Make them have it. Probably should have attacked first, but... Oh, are they countering this? So I guess it's sort of okay if they counter it. We were thinking about not playing it anyway. And probably better for them to counter Master of Waves than to counter my counter. Alright, so we've played our island for the turn. They are top decking. They've got Mystic Forge out. Okay. They're drawing pretty well. Huh. Alright. Next turn we can play Thassa. Okay, counter that, and hope that they don't have something else that's crazy. Okay. Thassa again. So at this point, opponent has to draw pretty well. We've done our best. All right, so they need to keep getting lucky with Mystic Forge. Chief Engineer can't help pay for Inventor's Fair. All right, well, they're hitting some stuff. They can tap Springleaf Drums for mana. And Mateo, you're getting pretty far ahead. I mean, they've only cast like 3 spells or 2 spells this turn, so I don't know. They're not gaining 50 life this turn, I don't think. I think it was totally correct to counter Saheeli. That's one of their cards that can just get out of control. So now I just need Devotion and I win. That will not do. All right. It's sort of ridiculous. And now they have 2 cards in hand. Am I going to lose this game? You can even just block with Ornithopter here. Wow. All right, well, at least one of the cards was a land. Okay, I mean, this makes ground creatures. It doesn't make flying creatures. That's one spell. Two spells. Now we don't have lethal anymore. We have, well, actually, we have 13, right? So we still currently do, but only if we draw that devotion that I was talking about. We need, I guess, exactly a trickster, because I think I took out, took out the harbingers, not harbingers, tidebinders. I guess a Tempest Djinn. A Borrower. Down to 14. And I have exactly 13, which is really annoying. Well, that wakes Thassa up. I could also just bounce something that matters, but then they've got so much mana they can just replay it. I can sort of slow roll Thassa and I don't even want to really bounce things at this point because it just gives them more spells to play and gain more life, unless I'm bouncing the reservoir itself. But then again, they just sort of replay that, and it doesn't get us anywhere. I do think I'm putting this on top for the devotion, if nothing else. And I think I'll just attack with Tempest Djinn and then flash in Borrower on the opponent's end step. And I don't know, we'll just sort of see where it takes us. They have no flying blockers here. Definitely hitting the opponent. I don't really care about Saheeli. I do think that naming the Gargoyle was correct because those things would be wrecking me right now. Okay, the Witching Well is going to scry them a little bit. It's also going to draw them some cards. It's a good start to their turn. This would actually be kind of a cool moment for Disallow because they're trying to float all of their mana, I guess. I could just counter that and nothing would untap. But in this case, let's see. Bouncing at this point doesn't seem to help very much. So hopefully they just go bottom, bottom, exile with Mystic Forge. They did. Bottom, bottom. Very nice. So many potential cards to name with Spyglass. The opponent can go fetch an artifact with this. That seems to be what they're doing. Okay. I guess if they get Ballista, that's kind of game over for us, right? Okay, they've drawn 2 cards. Another Inventor's Fair. This is not that bad for us because we've got Unblockable. But this lets him draw cards. Oh, these kinds of decks are so boring. So we've got potentially 9 plus 5 is 14 plus 3 is 17. Potentially got 17 damage next turn if we draw an island, 16 if we don't. Sure. I don't really want to bounce something now because then they know that I have Brazen Borrower, and they have like infinite mana anyway. If I bounce something, they just replay it. The opponent could definitely time out though. All right, so they're at our max lethal next turn. So our max damage. So 9 plus 5 is 14. No, I think they were already past it. So 16 or 17. So at this point, I think I'll just flash in the Borrower and F6 and let the opponent go nuts. Maybe I will bounce the Psy just to make them spend a little bit of time recasting something if I'm going to try to win on time. Oh, they can go for the 50 life, right? So I guess if they get close to that, I don't know what spell we're at. I want to see the. Yeah, I think I'll bounce this thing in response to their next spell. That works out well. Sort of, I guess. They can still play spells, gain life, but they're only going to gain like 1 life at a time. So now I'm going to just cast this thing. And now's when I'll F6. So at this point, it's just like, I guess I can't win, but I mean, if they pass the turn, they're pretty close to having lethal 2 turns at least, I guess. I wonder at like what point they'll just pass the turn. Like even if they could continue. Oh well, Ether Flux Reservoir is getting close. I think maybe they just need like 1 more spell or something. So Disallow does seem pretty good. In the matchup. Ideally, we wouldn't get to this point, though. Maybe taking out Sirens is wrong just because they're like early aggression. I think Ornithopter might just get them there now. Nope, not yet. 1 more spell. I'm just not talking. Sorry, there's nobody in here for a while, so I was just focusing on the game. I got the opponent down to a pretty good spot. They have no cards in hand, and I've named Witching Well, so they just word for Witching Well. They can scry, but they can't draw because I named it with Sorcerer's Spyglass. They had tapped down low enough last turn, and then I countered some gigantic. They played Karn, and I No, not Karn. What was this thing? This gigantic Sky Sovereign, and I countered that. So they only had 3 mana left. They couldn't crack Witching Well, so I just keeping them off their card draw. So they have 1 blocker here now, and they're at 7 life. All right. So we just attack. No, it's all good, Mateo. I just didn't know that anybody was I didn't know anyone was here. Okay, it's an interesting block. And now I guess we play Thassa. Start hitting unblockable, something like that. Also scrying, also holding up mana for Siren. Opponent's in a bad spot. They can sacrifice Inventor's Fair. I was one that I thought about naming for this, but it's just better to keep them off of drawing 2. All right, so they found a Saheeli. We're getting in for 7 next turn, unblockable. They're at 7 now. All right, well, they're kind of going off here, but they've only got 3 minutes. Well, they can draw hot off the top of the deck, and then so they're shuffling here, which will turn the Mystic Forge back on. They found a Paradox Engine, which they can't cast right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think they have 5 mana. 2, 3, 4 mana. Are they not casting this Paradox Engine, I think? Because they sacked the Inventor's Fair? I don't know. Maybe they miscalculated because they were... What is happening? Oh, she's returning... Oh, she's copying that. Okay, that was smart. Makes 1 more mana. And the opponent gains some life. Pretty nice. This is coming from the top of the deck after they shuffled now. Well, that was a pretty cool play, copying the Springleaf Drum with Saheeli. Okay, I think that's all they've got. We don't have lethal, but we might have a lethal clock. Counterspell would be good. Oh, Brazen Borrower seems like it would be pretty good. Because I can bounce their Reservoir and just sort of slow them down, let them gain like 3 life. At this point, with them very low on resources, I mean, they're going towards Etherflux, but I'm going to bounce that thing. So I think I'm going to kill Saheeli. Hold up 2 mana for Borrower to just bounce this Etherflux Reservoir. So that was one spell. Let's keep track. This is 2 spells. I'm going to let them get to the point where they're gaining maybe like after the 4th spell. So that was gaining 2 life. The next spell will gain 3 life. Okay. Scrying is okay. It takes them some time. They went bottom bottom. Yeah, it looks like they can't really do very much. So, I don't know. I can just do the same thing next turn. Spell Pierce, get to scry that away. So that's nice because I can unblock. I can attack unblockable. And then cast, I guess, Brazen Borrower at the end step. Is it? I guess does that it doesn't reset when I bounce it? No, I think it resets, no? No, you're right. I guess they gain 1 life. Interesting. So that was not, I guess, the best choice of thing to bounce. But yeah, I don't think they can win here anyway. So they are going to time out. Not the most exciting victories, but I'm getting a little bit desperate. Yawn. These are the best wins. You hope that it keeps, like, it makes the opponent feel bad for playing this kind of a deck. Maybe they should be doing different things with their life. All right, so that was extremely entertaining, I'm sure, for my one viewer. All right, so let's see. Spell Pierce did not feel that great, honestly. Even a deck like that had a lot of spells, they got to mana really quickly. It's not an extremely fast format where we need to counter something in the first 2 turns, always. So Spell Pierce, probably not as good as another option, like maybe Quench or even just Wizard's Retort. In this list, I've got Storm Tamers, Tricksters, Tidebinders, and Master of Waves as wizards. Actually, I just played like 3 matches, and I didn't see any green or red creatures, I don't think, so possible that Tidebinder Mage is better in the sideboard. I just really hate Harbinger, and would rather not run him if possible. We do need sort of a critical density of devotion spells, like things that get a bunch of devotion on the battlefield. If there is some other good creature that has like blue or blue, I mean, I feel like I've looked at everything, but I'll keep doing research on Gatherer to see if there's anything that people have missed. I'm not convinced that this sort of Tempest Djinn approach is necessarily better than the Merfolk approach. Even though Kapala didn't look amazing in that league, it has been impressive. Silvergill is a really good card. Ben is just another early wizard. if I wanted to start running Wizard's Retort. I'm not exactly sure what I would take out for that. Maybe either like Smuggler's Copter, or well, maybe just Smuggler's Copter. To run the main deck counter spells, which work really, really well with my 8 1-drop wizards. But I was saying earlier, Mateo, that in the league on Monday night, I went 3-2, but the 2 matches that I lost they went to 3 games, first of all, and the last one was obviously super close. So it wasn't really like the deck was failing me. It was just that we lost by 1 point of toughness or something like that against Liliana Last Hope. A Smuggler's Copter has felt really good, so I don't really feel like citing that out. Yeah, and so in this list, I mean, as far as if I can cast it, Silvergill is pretty much always castable. Brazen Borrower is a weird card because I feel like 80% of the time in matches, I'm only casting it to bounce something. 20% of the time, I cast it either both with Petty Theft and as a creature, or just as a creature. Sometimes I just cast it as a creature without Petty Theft. And surely it's really nice as an evasive threat, but it is weak to things like Ballista. It's weak to Liliana the Last Hope. And there's no Ensnaring Bridge in this format, so I'm not really sure how necessary Brazen Borrower is. Like, what if I just took these 3 out and brought in like 4 Wizard's Retorts and trimmed a Copter or something like that? Or I really don't want to trim. I mean, yes, Kapala is a little bit clunky. The biggest downside I found to Kapala is that it can't do anything about triggered abilities. So it does nothing against enter the battlefield creatures like Reflector Mage or what is that? Wicked Wolf. Anything that does something when it comes in. Kapala just sits there and does nothing, which is a bummer. But on the other hand, it makes things like Fatal Push and Assassin's Trophy just much worse. It makes Liliana's much worse. So the card has in general done a lot of work for me. Like, if I'm going to compare the amount of work that Kapala has done to the amount of Brazen Borrower, they're kind of similar. I mean, in my experience, you've only seen, well, let's see. Yeah, I mean, Cyclonic Rift, I have seen that in some of the old videos, but it's more of a sideboard card, right? I don't know. I guess it's mainboardable because it's got the overload cost, right? So let's put this on 0 and then look at Cyclonic Rift for a second. I think it's 2 to bounce a non-land permanent and then 7 to bounce everything. Yeah, and it's also that you don't control, which is a little bit rough. And we don't often get to 7 lands. I've had games that go really long that I don't actually get to 7 lands. Like against that artifact deck just now, I was only on 4 lands. So this is really not an option unless we start playing, I don't know, 25 lands or something like that. It's a good card. It's a pretty awesome card. I feel like I might want more Spyglasses. That card is pretty awesome. In this list that I just ran, I was up to 3. I just don't know what to think about. Yeah, but Nykthos is so awkward, right? It's obvious it just doesn't work with Tempest Djinn very well because it's not an island. And also just requires us to have Devotion. I guess if we don't have Devotion, we're probably losing anyway. But I'll let somebody else test Cyclonic Rift. It just seems kind of janky. But I mean, Tempest Djinn against that artifact deck, they just had like a Thopter, and they could just chump block my 8/4, which seems pretty bad. So Copter just seems awesome because it dodges sorcery speed garbage, right? Like it dodges Planeswalkers and it dodges board wipes. So I'm quite high on Copter, even though it has no Devotion. It's just a really good card. And in this list in particular, I don't think that Wizard's Retort is at its best in the main because we don't have all of those turn 1 wizards. I do think it could be quite strong in this build though, with the 8 1-drop wizards. I also do like being able to run a couple of Mutavaults. That's a couple of threats that that also dodge board wipes and sorcery speed stuff. Again, like Planeswalkers for the most part. What if I take the Brazen Borrowers out and just bring in 4 of these and trim 1 of the Copters, right? This list looks pretty good to me, actually. I mean, the Brazen Borrowers are like pure tempo, but I'm not really convinced that that's a winning strategy in this format. I've had games where, you know, I bounce things with the fairy, with Brazen Borrower, and then it just doesn't really do a lot. Like the opponent just plays their thing again. Whereas counterspells actually seem pretty good in a lot of matchups. So maybe the next like either queues or league that I run, I would run it back like this. And then I guess the question becomes, what do I do with the sideboard? I'm going to add more spyglasses because those seem great. I saw that Stoneheart was running... I'm not using the word tempo just to say card disadvantage, because tempo is not always card disadvantageous, right? Like Trickster is tempo positive while being card neutral, or no, card positive, right? We're developing our board, so, or card neutral. I guess that's how you'd say it. We're not losing a card, we're not gaining a card. It just remains a card. Tempo positive in the sense that it's disrupting the opponent's schedule. That's sort of the fundamental axis that tempo is concerned with. So if we're racing each other, I'm trying to develop my board and disrupt the opponent, then Trickster is tempo positive and card neutral. So when I just say tempo, I mean that Brazen Borrower is focused on a tempo game, right? That's the well, I'm not sure that I necessarily meant pure tempo. Sorry if it was confusing. I guess the point was that it was a very tempo-oriented card, and Wizard's Retort is not tempo-oriented at all. It's just a counterspell. So it can be tempo neutral if you want to factor in. I mean, sorry, tempo positive if you factor in the fact, you know, the idea that it might counter like a 6-drop or something like that. Opponent just wasted a lot of time. But it's really just about countering bombs and big pieces that we're concerned about, whereas Borrower just bounces them, right? And so we're trying to get ahead in the clock with Borrower. Like if we have 5 mana, we bounce something, play it, attack for 3 in the air, and that's kind of what it wants to do. The opponent's going to replay their thing, but the idea is that we now have 3 evasive power in the air that they're not going to be able to race anymore. I just haven't really found that to be the case. Brazen Borrower can be really impressive. I think if that tempo aspect does play out and end up contributing to winning the game. But when it doesn't, and again, I feel like I don't cast it as a creature in like 80% of games. So potentially not as good as I typed in Spyglasses. I want to type in Spyglass. I think I only have 3 of these currently still, but I think I might just go get the 4th. I really like this card. I was starting to say before, I saw that Stoneheart was playing Pithing Needle in one of his games that he put a screenshot up of. Pithing Needle is the kind of thing that you want to get down on turn 1 and just name something that you know that is going to be a problem. But this is such a slow format in general that when I bring in Sorcerer's Spyglass, it's against Planeswalker decks. So they're pretty slow. I feel like Sorcerer's Spyglass is going to let me know what's in their hand, and it's just much more valuable, right? So I'll pick up another Spyglass, and then we have 2 more cards. I'll probably just throw in 2 more Disallows because the counters seem really good. So I will go ahead and add these to the sideboard. And then I'll go pick up that 4th Spyglass right now. Mateo, what have you been playing lately? Have you been playing the Mono Blue Devotion list with Tempest Gen, or do you play other formats, or what are you playing these days? This device looks very kind of real worldish. This Spyglass, never saw that before. Yeah, Ratchet Bomb is a consideration. I've thought about it. For decks like ours that are really low to the ground, Ratchet Bomb is always a double-edged sword, because if we play it out and we really want to kill all the opponent's 1-drops, like, we definitely bring it in against anybody that's running Llanowar Elves or Elvish Mystic. Maybe we have out 3 Witching Wells and 2 Storm Tamers, and we just, we also lose 5 permanents. If we're running it against field and it's on 0, then obviously it's decent. But again, against field decks, it's another kind of impermanent answer, sort of like Brazen Borrower, but it's kind of the best that we can do, I think. We were talking about Valakut earlier and how we just are never going to line up super well with that strategy. Their inevitability, like, we have to kind of win before they can take over the game. Ratchet Bomb might give us like 2 more turns or something, which could be enough. So you've been playing Devotion with Tempest Gen. I mean, this is a mono blue Devotion deck. It's just a mono blue Merfolk Devotion deck. It's got pretty much virtually the same quantity of Devotion elements as the Devotion deck, just with more of a Merfolk focus, so that we can jam Silvergill Adept. Yeah, I mean, I have pretty strong opinions on certain cards. Like, I just observe them performing poorly or really situationally, only good situationally. Like, Harbinger of the Tides, for me, is a really bad card. Even if it wins, or really helps win, like 1 out of every 8, 9, or 10 games when it bounces a Mana Dork or something. Oh, Harbinger was so great. But if it's just like a Grizzly Bear in the other 8, 9 games, then, like, I don't want Harbinger in the deck. I think it's just terrible. Tidebinder Mage does more, but it's another bear, which is why I think it's better in the sideboard. And with the Merfolk approach, Biomancer synergizes really well with Wizard's Retort, so I kind of like this approach. I think I'll run this next time. 8 1-drop Wizard's Retort. And yeah, Silvergill is great. Thassa's still the best card in the deck. And I guess a lot of people are still trying to figure out how to best build this mono blue Devotion deck. Menguchi was uploading leagues with it, right? So there's definitely a couple of famous people that are working on the problem of this deck. So I said I was going to add this last Spyglass, so I'll go ahead and do that. Put this back up to 1. And yeah, this seems reasonable. I could add some Ratchet Bombs. It's pretty cheap online. I'll definitely keep thinking about it. I think that you should probably test Ratchet Bomb yourself, since you seem to have, like, pretty strong opinion about it. Seem to think that it might help us a lot. I totally believe that it could. Like, it's definitely a strong answer to, I think, all those zombies. And I'll catch you later. I'm going to sign off for now. But thanks a lot for joining me. I'll see